Hello, how are you today? You feel happy today? That's good. Is it time for another story? Okay, so what story will we be reading this time then? Oh, that's an excellent story, Harry. Will we read the story together? Okay, let's read the story together. So today's story is Aaron Slater, Illustrator. Let's read the story together. There we are. Okay, can you see Harry? Okay, let's begin. At the end of the garden, in the soft fading light, when the day turns to dusk and the dusk into night, the sweet scent of jasmine floats into the air to mix with the music of laughter, and there Aaron D. Slater soaks it all in, with his flowery blanket tucked under his chin. Words drift like music, melodious, mild, a sweet summer song for a sweet summer child, who drifts off to sleep as the cottonwood sways, at the end of the garden, at the end of the day. It's summer, then summer, and summer once more, and soon Aaron D. is a youngster of 4. The jasmine climbs higher, the roses have grown, and Aaron himself has a spot of his own for seedlings and saplings beside the slate walk, which he illustrates daily with a bucket of chalk. My goodness, he's growing up, isn't he? And he seems to be quite the little artist. But what he loves most, what makes Aaron's heart sing, is to listen to books in the old garden swing. To write stories, he thinks, is the greatest of things. But first he must read. It's the best place to start, and young Aaron wants to with all of his heart. But the words are just squiggles, and try though he might, even with help Aaron can't get it right. Why can't I do it? Why is it so hard? He goes back to drawing on slate in his yard. I know, Harry. Those words look very interesting. It looks like they're backwards, huh? Let's see what happens to Aaron next. It's school time at last in his sunflower socks and poppy red jacket and with matching lunchbox. He marches to class with a teacher's bouquet, ready to read by the end of the day. But he doesn't that day, or that month, or that year. And though he makes progress, it's painfully clear. He'll never quite get it like all of his friends. Since he'll never stand out, he decides to blend in. And so here he is at the start of grade 2, in his simple white t-shirt and matching white shoes. He tries to keep up, to blend in, and to hide the tangle of feelings he carries inside. Harry, that's a lot to carry, a big tangle of feelings inside, huh? Let's see what Aaron does next. At first it goes well with his teacher, is new, and a bit overwhelmed by the hullabaloo. But things settle down and Miss Greer finds her stride, and once she gets rolling, there's no place to hide. Class, she says, here's an assignment for you. Write me a story, something true. And so Aaron does what young Aaron must do. He works on his story like the rest of grade 2. He writes through the evening, he writes through the night. He writes and he writes till the dawn's early light. Then he drags off to school with his shoes filled with lead and his stomach in knots and a big pain in his head. And he waits for his turn with his heart filled with dread. Miss Greer calls his name and Aaron D. stands and unfolds the sheet in his trembling hands. He reads, well, he tries, but it's so hard to start, with 33 eyes peering into his heart. Oh, you would be scared too, wouldn't you? It isn't easy to read aloud to lots and lots of people. Let's see what Aaron does next. So he stares at his shoes and his sunflower socks, then he closes his eyes and the young Aaron talks. Once, there was a flower. No, wait, I know. Once there was a magical flower, which gave all who held it extraordinary power. And so begins the most perfect of tales of an imperfect hero whose courage fails. When the day turns to dusk and the dusk into night, and the moon rises high and the dragons take flight. And who learns after all in the wee morning hours? Strength comes from the heart and not magical flowers. That beauty and kindness and loving and art led courage to all with a welcoming heart. Wow, look at that picture. He is an exceptionally amazing artist, isn't he? He really is. And when the quest ends and the sweet flower dies, the student all gasp and Miss Lilla Greer cries. That silence that follows rattles his heart. He tries to say something, but where could he start? He turns in a paper with no words at all, then blinks back a tear and escapes to the hall, where Miss Lila finds him by the slate-coloured wall. Time stops for them both, the teacher and boy. His heart fills with anguish, and hers fills with joy. At the soul of the artist, courageous and true, she smiles and whispers, Aaron, thank you. Oh, she's a very nice teacher, isn't she? You have one like that at nursery, don't you? That you like very, very much. And she's very kind to you too. When she leaves, Aaron stands there a very long while. Then slowly, so slowly, he begins to smile. And he feels like he does with those books in the swing, as a new hope inside starts to make his heart sing. He knows he can do the greatest of things in a way that's his own, in a way that's just his. He can stand out and show the whole world who he is. Like the mightiest flames that banish the dark, hope grows in the soul from the tiniest spark. His art makes the difference, his art leads the way, and helps him discover what he wants to say. And his reading gets better. Of course, it's still tough, but each day that they work, it's a little bit less rough. Like all imperfect heroes at the start of a quest, he must do what he can and hope for the best. Now in the hallway, a new garden grows, with jasmine and poppies and a rambling rose. Books, art and music, a dragon or two, who soar through the sky of delphinium blue. The art tells a story, melodious, mild, furious, fragrant, wonderful, wild. It's all from the heart and all of it's true. For Aaron, Miss Greer and the kids of grade 2. It's a place full of beauty for one and for all. The Illustrator's garden at the end of the hall. And that is the end of the story. That was a fantastic story, Harry. What a wonderful choice you made. Oh, you have a question? Okay, you know you can ask me anything. You ask me your question. Okay, so you're wondering why Aaron might have struggled to read? Well, I think I do have an answer for that. Give me 1 minute and I'll explain it. So, Harry, you were asking me why Aaron in the story was having a little bit of a tough time learning how to read. Well, I've just looked at the back of the book and the author has left some extra information called an author's note. Have you ever seen an author's note before? No? So an author's note is a little note from the author who wrote the story to give us a little bit more information. And there's a little bit in here that tells us a little bit about Aaron. So will we read that bit? Okay. So learning to read is hard for Aaron Slater. His brain has difficulty identifying how speech sounds relate to letters and words. So Aaron has some struggles with his reading. Aaron has dyslexia, just like 15 to 20% of all people. That's a lot of people, isn't it, Harry, that have dyslexia? There are many other learning difficulties people may have. So, for example, dysgraphia is a difficulty learning to write. Dyscalculia is a form of difficulty doing math. So, numbers, adding, that kind of thing. Some people may have difficulty focusing, which is called attention deficit disorder, ADD, or attention deficit hyperactive disorder, ADHD. So these learning problems are not about a person's intelligence, creativity, kindness, willingness to work, or their awesomeness. They are just about how the person's brain works. All of these difficulties and many more can be frustrating. Yes, I think we agree. In the story, Aaron got very frustrated. But tools and special instruction from educators. Educators are just teachers, Harry. That's another word for a teacher. And others can help. So Aaron's dyslexia informs who he is, but it does not define who he is. Do you agree with that? Yeah, I agree. His dyslexia is a part of him, but it's not all of him. So Aaron does have dyslexia, but he's a really great artist too. That's what makes us unique. We each have our own superpowers and struggles. And all those struggles and superpowers make us unique, beautiful, strong, and important to the world. Just like Aaron. So that's why Aaron has difficulty reading. He has dyslexia. But just because he has dyslexia doesn't mean that he isn't awesome in his own way. Now, that was a brilliant story, Harry, and very good question, but I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. But I can't wait for our next story time. Bye, Harry. Bye, everybody.